Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating, air, restoration, and flood services for over 45 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit BillHowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.
Good evening, I'm Maya Trabulsi. Thank you for joining us tonight. Poway is being sued by both the state and a local tribe over a housing development project. KPBS North County reporter Alexander Nguyen says ancestral human remains and other tribal cultural items were discovered at the site.
Work continues today at the Hidden Valley Ranch housing project. 40 homes will be built here, but for now, crews are only grading the site. And that's a problem for the San Pasqual Band of Kumeyaay.
The burials that are there, and more burials have been found.
Johnny Bear Contreras is the Cultural Committee Chair for the San Pasqual Band. Since work began in October, at least 3 ancestral remains have been found at the site.
It was apparent to us that this was a village site.
Contreras says the tribe has tried to work with the developer, Shea Homes, on mitigation work to give the site the respect it deserves.
So we approached the situation and asked for more time and to bring in the appropriate folks. We were denied that.
And that's why the tribe is suing the city. An environmental impact report for the project was completed in 2003. But since then, more than 8,000 tribal artifacts have been found at the site. And that's also the reason why California Attorney General Rob Bonta sued Poway under CEQA, or the California Environmental Quality Act. The AG alleges the city did not do its due diligence by conducting a new environmental review after cultural artifacts were found. In a statement, he says development, environmental compliance, and community consultation should go hand in hand. The discovery of an apparent burial site that served as a final resting place for some of California's first inhabitants warrants appropriate caution and respect. He says development should not come at the expense of tribal communities. In a statement, Poway spokesperson Renee Carmichael says the city was blindsided by the lawsuit. She says the city has been cooperating with the AG's office to determine the best course of action. Until very recently, and with no opportunity to understand or potentially cure any violations of CEQA, the city received no indication that a CEQA violation was being pursued. The tribe says they're not trying to stop the project. They just want to pause to assess the artifacts and pay respect to their ancestors.
Those aren't suggestions. Those aren't comments or well-wishing. That's the law. That's the federal and the state law.
Poway says it can't stop the development because it has all the required city approvals. The alleged violations are of federal and state law. In a statement, Shea Homes says it has fully complied with all applicable federal and state laws. Alexander Nguyen, KPBS News.
A former top official in San Diego County's Department of Animal Services has filed a claim against the county seeking millions of dollars in damages. KPBS investigative reporter Scott Rott confirmed the official was fired earlier this year.
Rachel Borelli served as assistant director at the Department of Animal Services, overseeing the county's 2 animal shelters. Borelli was put on leave last fall after KPBS uncovered a voice message she recorded that used profane language to describe shelter dogs. She also complained there weren't enough euthanasias. The county fired her earlier this year. Now Borelli is seeking over $8 million in damages from the county. Borelli claims a former colleague defamed her, and then the county fired her when she complained to HR. The claim does not specify how the colleague allegedly defamed her. Borelli's attorney declined to comment. Scott Rott, KPBS News.
And if you have a tip for KPBS's investigations team, you can send an email to investigations@kpbs.org, or you can message them on our secure signal line at the number on your screen, 619-594-8177.
Well, we've had some showers around, but now they're out of here, and we're back to dry, quiet weather for a few more days, but we'll have another chance for showers this weekend. In the meantime, tonight, Ramona, 43, will be about 15 degrees warmer than that in San Diego at 58. Oceanside, 49, and up into the chillier spots, Mount Laguna, 39. Campo, down to 34 tonight. A little nippy there, but we'll be dry, less windy, looking real nice for Thursday. We'll take you through the weekend, though, in just a few minutes.
An escalation in the war with Iran. Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps took control of 2 ships in the Strait of Hormuz just hours after President Trump backed down from his threats and extended the ceasefire. Brian Abel has the latest.
Iran's Revolutionary Guard say they've seized 2 ships in the Strait of Hormuz and moved them to Iranian waters, while Iran state media says a 3rd Greek-owned vessel is now disabled off Iran's coast after reportedly being targeted by the IRGC. The claim's not independently verified, but the UK's Maritime Traffic Organization previously said 2 container ships were hit by fire.
Now they are basically a bargaining chip for the Iranians. They're coming into these potential talks with ships in their possession.
The escalations come hours after the ceasefire deadline between the U.S. and Iran was set to expire. But by Tuesday afternoon, President Donald Trump announced he would extend the ceasefire at the request of Pakistan until Iran submits a proposal and talks conclude, quote, one way or the other, calling Iran's government seriously fractured following the U.S.'s targeted attacks on leadership.
The problem is that through these decapitation campaigns and the fact that Mujtaba is seriously injured, there isn't a final decider.
Trump didn't offer a new deadline, though sources say he plans to give Iran a limited time frame for a unified proposal. While the ceasefire continues with the ball now in Iran's court and a resolution unclear.
I think we're at a very precarious position, and it could go either way, really.
The U.S. says it will continue its naval blockade of Iranian vessels in the Strait of Hormuz, action that Tehran says must end before Iran will negotiate. In Washington, Brian Abel, KPBS News.
Even with the ceasefire extension, questions remain about what happens next. That uncertainty is taking a toll on Iranian Americans here in San Diego. Many are still desperate for answers from friends and family overseas, but internet blackouts and limited communication in Iran are complicating matters. Dr. Tanya Hormozi says she's been trying to reach her family for weeks, and the silence is the hardest part.
Sad, really sad, because my cousin's mom has an illness, and so she's unable to get her medication if there's protests going out and there's gunmen out, just trying to execute anyone that's on the street, even if they're not there to protest. So it's really scary, mostly living through the eyes of him.
And there has been a lot of concern about civilians caught in the crossfire. The UN Refugee Agency estimates as many as 3.2 million civilians have already fled Tehran to safer areas. San Diego Democratic Congressman Juan Vargas told constituents that he has not taken a single penny from the pro-Israel lobbying group AIPAC. But KPBS reporter Gustavo Solis says federal campaign finance records tell a different story.
You can hear the voice of Congressman Juan Vargas joining the chants until they change to something that Vargas does not agree with.
Stop funding Israel! Stop funding Israel! Stop funding Israel!
I disagree with that. I disagree with you.
A few moments later, activists criticized Vargas for accepting money from the pro-Israel lobbying group AIPAC, which he clearly denies.
And then because AIPAC has never given me a penny.
But federal campaign finance records show AIPAC is Vargas's top donor, giving him more than $225,000 over the last 2 campaign cycles. Vargas has not publicly explained the discrepancy, and he did not respond to multiple questions from KPBS. Recent polls show that support for Israel has plummeted among independent and Democratic voters, with 65% of Democrats saying their sympathies lie more with Palestinians than Israelis. Gustavo Solis, KPBS News.
Advocates are raising alarm about a Trump administration plan to relocate Afghan wartime allies and families from a temporary camp to the Democratic Republic of Congo, or DRC. KPBS military and veterans reporter Andrew Dyer says the Afghans are told their option is to return to Afghanistan.
More than 1,100 Afghans are in U.S. custody in Camp Al Salih in Qatar. More than 400 are children. All were vetted and approved to relocate to the United States under the Biden administration. They've been stuck at the camp since Donald Trump's first day back in office, when he halted all refugee resettlement. His administration later enacted a travel and visa ban for Afghans. Sean Jamshidi was a gunnery sergeant in the Marine Corps. He has 5 family members at the State Department-run camp, including his older brother.
He worked with the American Embassy as well as the American soldiers in Afghanistan. So he was able to come, he got a promise to come that way. But by the time he was lucky enough to get approved for this SIV visa, the administration changed the policy to where they were no longer issuing visas.
Advocacy group Afghan Evac says Jamshidi is one of more than 150 service members or veterans with family at the camp. The Trump administration announced this year it would close the camp in Qatar, but hasn't provided a plan for the Afghans, all of them people who worked with the U.S. or their families. Sean Van Diver is the San Diego-based president of Afghan Evac. He says this reported plan is unacceptable.
The Democratic Republic of Congo is currently hosting more than 600,000 refugees. It is an active armed conflict with Rwanda. Refugee camps inside its borders are being attacked.
Jamshidi deployed to the DRC 8 years ago.
I personally served as a Marine in DRC in Kinshasa, and I remember my time there, and I was there for a short period of time, but I remember how tough that time was while I was there.
A State Department official told the New York Times the administration is looking for responsible and voluntary resettlement options as it moves to close the camp. California Democratic Representative Sidney Kamlager-Dove says there's nothing voluntary about the plan.
So the option to be deported to the Taliban or to move to a catastrophic humanitarian crisis in the DRC is not a choice. It is a death sentence.
Jamshidi says the last year and a half has been hard for his family, most of whom already live in the U.S. He says by advocating for his brother, he's also advocating for his country, one that told Afghans they'd be taken care of if they worked with it.
I'm going to continue advocating for the credibility of the United States government, that we hold our word to the people that served us. And if we don't, no one else in the world is going to serve the United States government when we need them at the most.
Andrew Dyer, KPBS News.
American businesses have started to apply for an estimated $166 billion in tariff refunds and interest. This after the U.S. Supreme Court struck down President Trump's sweeping emergency tariffs in February. For consumers wondering if they'll see any refunds, Karen Kafer reports the answer is likely no.
Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick on Capitol Hill Wednesday facing questions about Trump administration tariff policies.
Right now, tariffs have driven up costs so significantly that it's put many businesses at risk and in peril.
The answer is make your products at home and you have no tariff.
This week, 2 months after the Supreme Court struck down President Donald Trump's sweeping emergency tariffs, American importers started applying for an estimated $166 billion in refunds plus interest. So consumers want to know if they'll see any money back. The answer, not really. One reason, after the Supreme Court ruled the emergency tariffs unconstitutional, the president announced new tariffs, which means new costs for importers to cover.
The first thing to realize is that we're in an environment of still massive uncertainty about what the future is in terms of where tariffs will fall and, what level they're going to be at. And that uncertainty is not good for business.
And Ryan Monarch, associate professor of economics at Syracuse University, says some companies absorb the added costs from the emergency tariffs and cut in different areas.
Some of them didn't raise prices at all and found other ways to cut costs. Maybe they're laying off employees, or maybe they're delaying a certain investment.
While businesses absorbing tariff costs may have kept inflation in check, economists believe it suppressed the job market. In Washington, I'm Karen Kafa.
For music lovers, concert ticket prices have skyrocketed since the pandemic, and venues and artists say booking agents and ticketing platforms call the shots, even as Live Nation and Ticketmaster face antitrust suits. For our Price of San Diego series, KPBS arts reporter Julia Dixon-Evans looks at the cost of seeing a band and what fans can do about it.
On a busy corner near the airport sits a small independent music venue, a legend in rock and punk circles.
My name is Tim Mays, and we're at the Casbah, which I've owned for 37 years now.
In recent years, concert price increases have meant that fans can pay hundreds, if not thousands of dollars for one show. While prices at small venues haven't hit those levels, Mays says they're still feeling the pinch. At the Casbah, pre-pandemic, smaller touring bands typically charged $12 to $15 at the door.
After the pandemic, that bumped up to 15, 18, and then now, starting point for a band that's relatively unknown, I see, asks for $20 tickets, $25 tickets at the door.
There's a lot that goes into the cost of a ticket, including a band payment to cover tour costs, basically all the people, platforms, and expenses involved. And Mays says booking agents and managers usually have final say.
I push back on that when I can, just saying, this seems a little high. Has this band played in San Diego before? Do they have any history? Because if not, it's their first time. We should be cognizant of, that the pricing.
Colleen Collar-Smith is Executive Director of UC San Diego's Campus Performance and Events Office, which oversees Art Power. She says access to art is part of their mission, and they work to keep events affordable.
For us, when we're looking on campus at our students who are quite literally in laboratories and studios working on problems, not just of today, but well into the future, and really working to change the world, we think it's really important that they have art in their lives so that they're really whole humans.
Art Power has historically offered low-cost tickets to students. Recently, they made those completely free.
When we took that ticket price off, we saw a 65% increase right away. So we know that removing that barrier really does impact the engagement.
Collar-Smith says another cost factor for fans is the rise of resale sites.
Is oftentimes when you're Googling an artist, the first thing that pops up is those resale sites.
Resellers often buy tickets and resell them at a markup, adding costs for fans.
If you dig just a little bit, find out the venue or the presenter, and just take that extra second to go directly to that site, the presenter or the venue, oftentimes you're going to find a less expensive ticket, and certainly you know that your ticket's going to be good for that show.
Platform costs like fees and surge pricing have also risen. Ticketmaster and Live Nation, which merged in 2009, are facing a federal antitrust lawsuit. Mays says the Casbah and other smaller venues use independent ticketing platforms, often with lower fees. But many large venues still require Ticketmaster as their exclusive ticketing platform. Fans aren't the only ones. Mays says artists are also feeling inflation.
So, it's gotten way expensive to tour. Hotels, gasoline, food, everything is way more than it was, obviously way more than it was last year. So, but it's a constant struggle to keep the ticket pricing in check.
He says merch is a key way for fans to support artists.
We'll have bands here that'll some nights just do almost as much selling merch as they get paid.
And there's one more thing fans can control. To avoid platform service fees, check with the venue. You might be able to pay cash at the door. Julia Dixon-Evans, KPBS News.
And that story by Julia is part of our Price of San Diego series. We have more cost of living stories about everything from rising gas prices to saving money on live sports events. You can check it out online at kpbs.org/Price of San Diego. San Diego County is among the most polluted areas in the U.S. That is according to a new report by the American Lung Association. The report found air quality in San Diego County is the 5th worst among 84 counties. The measurements are from 2022 to 2024. Last year's report showed San Diego County in 59th place. Will Barrett is with the association. He says new air quality monitors at the port of entry show a clearer picture of the pollution.
And now we're getting a better picture of where some of that elevated pollution, certainly in the border region, is affecting air quality in the county.
And he adds that heavy-duty trucks and ships are the top sources of pollution in the county. The report measured fine particulate matter and ozone pollutants only. Barrett says hydrogen sulfide from the Tijuana River was not factored in the measurements.
Well, we are tracking the return of some showers later this weekend. But in the meantime, we're saying goodbye to one storm system that did bring us a few showers locally. Winds will decrease and will be comfortable for the late week forecast. Thursday and Friday look nice. Scattered showers will arrive late Saturday night and into Sunday in some areas. So we're not yet into the dry season. It's been kind of nice to get a little bit of leftover moisture here in the Golden State. Clear to partly cloudy tonight, 58 for your overnight low. We're in pretty good shape here this Thursday. Especially cool in the Great Basin. We're dry and very pleasant into Southern California here this Thursday. And you can see by the numbers, a lot of us delightful out there. Low 70s, Oceanside 72, Solana Beach there looking good, 71 in the San Diego, Chula Vista 70, mid 70s into Ramona. In the deserts, we'll be around 85 at Borrego Springs, but only 56 in Mount Laguna. Lots of straightforward yellow here on the map. We're just dry on Friday. Delightful weather. It looks nice. So your outdoor plans will not be hindered by anything weather-wise. Friday. Saturday, you can see some showers up to the north. We're going to begin to see a better chance for some light rain again later in Saturday night's forecast. Saturday evening into Saturday night. So here we go. Moisture returns on Friday. That onshore breeze. And again, even Friday night, there could be a few sprinkles out there. Perhaps Friday night as well. With that onshore breeze, but most of Saturday will be dry, and then Saturday night a better chance with some slightly more legitimate rain showers Saturday evening and night. There you can see even some yellow on the map. Locally, briefly heavier showers possible into the mountains, the west-facing slopes, and even some snow in the highest elevations. It's not too late in the season for that. It is rare, but we may see a few areas of a little bit of snow up in the highest of elevations. So here we are, the coastal forecast. Showers increase on Saturday. They're most likely in the evening, a brief shower or two. It'll be cooler out there for the weekend as well. So again, a little bit of bonus rain late in the season. Inland areas, we're going to go from the mid-70s, great weather Thursday, Friday, to showers and cooler air on Saturday. And as we head into the mountains here, you can see a big cool down, low 40s with some rain showers as well. Most populated areas in the high ground will be dealing with rain as opposed to snow, but it is going to be a bit of a change. And in the deserts here, we may see a sprinkle or two, but we don't expect the widespread rain to survive all the way down to the desert floor. We'll be in the mid-80s early on and then dropping sharply down to the low 70s for highs Saturday and Sunday. I'm AccuWeather meteorologist Jeff Cornish for KPBS News.
I'm Jeff Bennett. Tonight on the News Hour, Iran attacks multiple ships near the Strait of Hormuz, a day after President Trump extended the ceasefire. That's at 7 after Evening Edition on KPBS.
Well, happy birthday to the Earth as it turns 56 today. Earth Day turns 56 today. The annual global event celebrates all the ways people protect the planet. KPBS environment reporter Tammy Murga spoke with Dr. V. Wynn. She's a local pediatrician who's been picking up trash along San Diego's coastline for years, and this small act has led her to do bigger climate advocacy work. Here she is, picking in Pacific Beach on Saturday.
It's kind of weird, but people just leave everything on the beach, like unopened alcohol, and I would not drink it. I don't drink, but I made vinegar out of it. Oh wow! Because you can just take alcohol and ferment it, and then I use it to clean. And it was just very interesting. I just had these adventures, just random, and then I would find a lot of vapes. And that's why we ended up doing a lot of anti-vaping legislation, because I was like, what are all these things, And then I don't know, the litter really connects us all. I think trash is really interesting. It was burned out, questioning my career trajectory. It was very sad. I mean, honestly, thinking back to it, it was really kind of a dark place in life when, as a physician, thinks about leaving medicine. And so I was jogging, and then I kind of realized I could pick up trash at the same time. Let me just be a plogger. I think it was around Earth Day or something. And then I found out about Instagram. I know it's been around for a decade or so, and then my husband was I was like, yeah, I want to get on Instagram. And there's a Dr. Pimple Popper. So I was like, yeah, let's be Dr. Plastic Ricker. And I promised at that moment 10 years of advocacy. I was like, I'm going to do this 10 years. So I'm on year 7. I'm pretty sure I'm going to do it over 10 years, but that's when I kind of started, okay, I'm going to do it. You have all this plastic pollution that's land-based, and you get all these little, like, you know, you definitely get like big pieces of plastic, but you also get just little corners of, like this, like here, like little like tags here, like little corners of like snack bags. I used to count the number of cans I got, count this, count that, and it was just really, you know, but in that process, you know, there's so many different ways to pick up trash. There's infinite amount of trash, like, and it just kind of informs how I think of life now. What I'm most proud of is the summit we do at UCSD. It's called H3SD, and it's the Heat and Human Health Summit at UCSD Medical School. This is going to be our 4th or 5th year, and I'm so proud of us because it really was. We actually came up with the idea on the wetlands, and honestly, we pushed the agenda. Like this year, we're going to do a session on AI and heat. So I picked this spot. And you will save what you love. You will fight for what you love, right? And that is why I'm so fight for San Diego.
And that story for Earth Day was produced by KPBS environment reporter Tammy Murgo. Over 7 years of picking up plastic, Dr. Wynn says that she's picked up thousands of bottles, cans, beach toys, as well as other items. Now she recycles or donates what is salvageable. KPBS wants to know about the little and big things you are doing to protect the Earth. Just go to kpbs.org and tell us all about it. Here's a look at what we're working on for tomorrow in the KPBS newsroom. On NPR's Morning Edition, is President Trump hitting a slump? The president's polling is nearing an all-time low as he remains mired in a war and political fights that have not turned out as he has expected. And KPBS Midday Edition is rounding up the best arts and culture events around town for the weekend preview. You can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org. Thanks for joining us. I'm Maya Triple-C. Good night.
Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating, air, restoration, and flood services for over 45 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit BillHowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley, and by the following: by viewers like you. Thank you.